Last time around, I teased this whole thing. It was a lovely introduction. We talked about the book of Matthew and how the religious leaders went to Pilate and demanded that he put a Roman guard at the tomb. And we talked about how that totally backfired on them because now they had legal witnesses who were there to see the exact opposite of what they wanted to happen. And then I was like, and likewise, that's how it is with the meeting within a meeting within a meeting within a meeting, where Xerxes gets together with his 7 highest ranking noblemen to figure out what should be done about Vashti. The whole thing boomerangs on him. And then you know what I didn't do? Pay that off. I got like right there, right there. And I didn't pay it off. So today we're going to pay that off. We're in Esther 1. We're having a meeting. Everybody's drunk. There's been an incident at a party after a party. You already been drinking for 180 days. Now you've been drinking for another 7 days. The king says, bring my wife in here. I ever look hot to everybody. And she's like, no, that's just not what I do. I'm not doing that. That's a stupid request. No. And the king gets real mad in front of everybody. And he calls a special meeting of his special counselors who all have special unlimited access to him because their dads helped his dad become king when it was none of his dad's business to become king. And they get together, and probably what Xerxes wanted to do here was just to be fussy and to have his feelings be affirmed and to have people be like, I see you, man. That is crap. You should get to say some things about how mad you are about that. Women, am I right? Gosh, guys. But instead, it gets really nuclear really fast as Xerxes throws out a question like, do we have to do something here? Is there some kind of law thing we should do? Guys, is it that big a deal? Did he mean it or not? I don't know, but he wanted to bluster. And one of the 7 dudes who has unlimited access to him pounces on that bluster. It's like, I'm so very, very glad you brought that up. Oh, great king. This woman thing is becoming a huge problem. And I think it's only going to get huger if word gets out about what Queen Vashti did to you. And that's why we've got to tell everyone about what Queen Vashti did to you. And Xerxes, I guess, was like, yeah. And so then Memucan, this advisor who's really on a roll in this meeting, great meeting for him, by the way, like just absolutely nailed it, got so much of the stuff that he wanted, really everything he asked for, he got. He then pivots from throwing out these initial bold, broad ideas about how everything is, and how women are, and how households are, and everything else. And he pivots to this. He says, therefore, if it pleases the king, let him issue a royal decree and let it be written in the laws of Persia and Media, which cannot be repealed, that Vashti is never again to enter the presence of King Xerxes. Also, let the king give her royal position to someone else who is better than she. Then when the king's edict is proclaimed throughout all his vast realm, all the women will respect their husbands from the least to the greatest. So much here to look at, but first I want to pay off the thing I didn't pay off yesterday. The whole idea of this meeting within a meeting, these elite super brain types, was to be like, how do we fix this incident that just happened? We would not want people to be witness to that. And their grand conclusion is, let's write it in every version of every language we know and mail a copy of it to every single corner of our vast empire to make sure everyone knows about the way the king was disrespected. And it's laughably implosive and self-defeating in the same way. Are you ready for it? I mean, now it's ruined. The timing's just shot. But in the same way, the religious leaders went to Pontius Pilate and had him postcards, and then the guards were witnesses to the resurrection, and the guards were supposed to be like, oh, there was no resurrection. The disciples came and moved the body, but instead they had to be like, no, there was a resurrection. It was crazy and knocked us out. You get it. I'm embarrassed. Okay, but back to the decree. Let's break this thing down. Thing number 1 that's in the decree is what Vashti did. We just got done talking about how self-defeating and nonsensical it is to publicize that, but okay, whatever. Thing number 2 is that she no longer has access to the king. Yesterday we talked about how access is the greatest, most valuable commodity in the whole world at this time. And Memucan effectively politically assassinated, not literally killed, but politically assassinated one of his chief rivals, if not his very chiefest of rivals, by removing her access pass to the king. She doesn't get to go near him anymore. She doesn't get to influence him. And the next thing that's in the decree is that the king is to give her royal position to someone else who is better than she. Better. What an interesting adjective that is in this context. So by better, you mean someone who would be more willing to do sexy things for you in a scripted public way and more willing to embarrass herself? Okay. I think what Memucan really means is that somebody is going to have to be queen, and by pushing the reset button on the reign of the queen, we're going to weaken that position dramatically. Who knows? Maybe Memucan was like, there's a lot of marriage between our families as the participants in the conspiracy to overthrow Bardia as king and put your dad on the throne. Like, you're going to have a vacancy now. Maybe it would make sense for my daughter, who is lovely, to be someone you might want to consider. Now, the way this thing works out, it looks more like almost a Cinderella style, call out to the entire kingdom to find out who the lovely next queen will be. So that's a little bit confusing. Maybe it didn't go the way that Memucan wanted it to, but vacating the office of queen is to his benefit, whether he had a daughter who it might make sense to marry off to Xerxes or not. I have to think that was part of his ambition here. And if that is the case, then Memucan would have not only removed someone else who had access to the king, but he would have doubled his own access to the king by proxy through his hypothetical daughter, were such a woman to exist and were she to marry the king. Very clever, very clever. Okay, what else we got here? All right, so we got we're going to tell everybody about it. Vashti can't go into the presence of the king anymore, which I guess that's a divorce. And we're going to get somebody who's better than Vashti. The word better is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. And then 4, then when the king's edict is proclaimed throughout all this vast realm, there it is. All the women will respect their husbands from the least to the greatest. So the 4th thing this is to accomplish is that now all the women, they're going to see this edict and they're going to be like, we should be more respectful and not like Vashti. She is a bad example of how women are, and we wouldn't want to be like that. And just once they hear the edict, they'll all be like, oh, well, there was an edict. I mean, it's a royal decree. So that pretty much does it in terms of how marriage is from now on. I mean, marriage was a certain way forever, but then there was a royal decree, and now it's like that. So we'll just do that now. It just doesn't seem like this is going to be as effective as Memucan would like to believe it's going to be. He could be nicer to his wife. I don't know. Maybe he was super nice. It's possible that she was just a pill and a real difficult lady. But it seems like, just judging by the stuff he's saying here, he might have tried to use force and power and manipulation like he does in the royal court in his household with his wife. And I just wonder if maybe she didn't super like that. It's not real fun or attractive either way. Well, verse 21. The king and his nobles were pleased with this advice. So the king did as Memucan proposed. He sent dispatches to all parts of the kingdom, to each province in its own script, and to each people in its own language, proclaiming in each people's tongue that every man should be ruler over his own household. Do you catch what the author of Esther is doing there? The author of Esther is doing what I have been doing for the last 2 episodes, and that is pointing out the stupidity of this strategy. So to be clear, great king, we are going to deal with the embarrassment of what your wife did to you behind closed doors in front of a relatively small group of people. We are going to protect against the damage that example could cause empire-wide by putting it in the language of each people, in each person's tongue, in every known script, all 3 of those things, and we're going to send it to literally everybody. Reply all. That's what we're doing. That's the plan to avoid the damage that could be done if people found out about what happened here. Okay. Well, that's it for the prologue. That's the end of chapter 1. It's a really good setup. There's a ton of narrative tension, and there is danger and intrigue, but it's not danger like there's a slimy venomous serpent and it's in your room and it's creeping up and it might bite you while you're sleeping. It's not imminent danger like there's an army coming and they're going to kill us. It's imminent danger in that this environment is poisonous. there's something real ugly and real dangerous and poorly wielded in play here, and that is going to affect the way this story plays out. We'll talk more about what we learned in the prologue next time around. I saw that some of you just went and wrote reviews here over the last couple of weeks. Those were always so fun. A couple of them were real funny. I see the jokes you're cracking. Tip of the cap to you. I appreciate all of the encouragement. That is a great way to involve other people in the conversation. And speaking of involving other people in the conversation, remember, I went back to episode 1 and augmented that ever so slightly, episode 1 of this whole Esther series, to give all listeners a choose your own adventure option of either going through the entire prologue and historical background stuff that you and I did together for 40 episodes, or if you are here and you chose the other choose your own adventure option, well, the option was also there to just skip ahead to the part where we get right into the Bible stuff if that's what you prefer and that's what you want to do. So now here we are all together. Some of you having gone through all of the history extra stuff, others of you saying, I'm excited about the Bible stuff and just jumping in right there, but it's nice to all be here together. And if you are inviting someone to jump in, you should definitely have them listen to that first episode of the Esther series so that they feel that they get to be the picker of which experience they might enjoy more. All right, now we're going to wrap it up, and then tomorrow we're going to talk about what we have learned from this prologue section in Esther chapter 1. I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. Let's do this again soon.